Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome into the show. I have Warren Weber here with me tonight. We're doing a 2023 rookie redraft, looking at the 2023 class. We know a lot now, and we're going to take a look and see where we take them if the draft was today. So let's start off with our wonderful question, a little bit of dynasty. Who are you most worried about heading into the offseason? So Warren, who are you worried about?
There's a few people that I kind of had in mind for this, but ultimately I decided Davante Adams. I know that they have a shiny new toy in Aiden O'Connell over there, a new head coach, and his last game he did pretty well. 6 catches for 86 yards, but I think ultimately, that production's not going to stay. I don't think personally, and I think that we already saw him complaining earlier in the season that the offense just wasn't working. He wasn't getting targets. When we've seen him highlights of him, he's open pretty much. He's open a lot, and we've seen Jimmy G miss him a ton. But I think ultimately, he's going to get frustrated, and I could see him requesting a trade out of there if they don't turn around quickly. But the way it's trending, they're playing better under this new head coach, and maybe he does decide to stay. But even then, it's still, I don't think it's a great situation for him overall. Well, what do you think about Adams?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he ages differently than some other wide receivers, just the way he plays the game. I mean, he still has it. You watch him on the football field, and he looks amazing. He looks like the Davante Adams that he was last year and 3 years ago. It's just right now, I mean, Aiden O'Connell is your starting quarterback.
Yeah, you just don't have anyone to give him the ball. It's just
it's been the problem. The first couple weeks, it seemed like him and Jimmy G were doing pretty good, and they just, I mean, that was Mike McDaniels. Clearly, he was a very big issue on that franchise, and they got rid of him. But right now, it's just, I don't know what to expect. I really thought they were going to do him a favor and trade him at the deadline, because I mean, he went there to be a Raider with his college quarterback, and then they kicked him out of the team. And here's Davante Adams. I mean, he's still super, super talented. You can't take anything away from Davante Adams. It's just who's getting the ball next year. I don't know what they're gonna do. So I like the pick. This could be a buy low opportunity, but I mean, he is in Dynasty. You put a different hat on. You look at people with a little bit different views.
Right.
Aging wide receiver, unsure about the future. I don't know what I'd be willing to give up for him, or if I'd be actively trying to acquire him. It's kind of just whoever has him, you might just need to ride him into the sunset until he retires, which could be sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy because I dumped him away for a first round pick at the beginning of this year, so I'm loving life there. So
yeah, I mean, I traded him to you a couple years ago, thinking this was going to happen, and last year it made me look stupid because he was still the same dude, and
he's still really good.
Yeah. This year it's starting to see a little bit of the rust come out, but I'm going to follow you with another wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. If any of you watched the football game on Monday night against the Denver Broncos, they were not on the same page, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes in the Bills right now, it seems. Stephon Diggs is complaining that he doesn't get the ball, which rightfully so. I mean, you have this uber talented wide receiver, get him the ball. The play calling is pretty bad. They're not doing what works. You need a running game and a passing game, and right now they're trying to just put everything on Josh Allen to play hero ball. He's not getting helped out with his wide receivers. They just fired Ken Dorsey, so hopefully this is somewhat of a change to finish out this season. But I don't know if he's going to be with the Bills next year. He might try to force his way out. I know his brother is trying to get him to join the Cowboys, but I mean, we see this a lot too. Everyone wants you on the family member's team, or if you were a former player, a former teammate, they're like, hey, come over here, the grass is greener. So with Stephon Diggs, he's another one where this offseason is going to be very telling on where his value goes. He could still be one of these top talents and a value next year in drafts, but right now it's a little bit scary. So you got to shoot your shot. If you're a contender, this might be you want to get him, because I think he's going to finish strong at the end of this season, but next year, good luck. You got to have a crystal ball, and if you don't have that, might not be too good. So what do you think about Diggs?
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, actually. We've seen this story before where he complains and because he's not getting the ball, and it seems like they turn it around like towards the end of the season, and then everyone's happy, they make the playoffs. But I don't know, this time it seems a little bit different. With, again, like you said, them firing their OC, and it just seems like, yeah, like you said, they're not doing what works. They're not running James Cook. They're not running Murray, who are averaging just ridiculous yards per carry numbers. And yeah, it seems like maybe Sean McDermott might be out this year, which could lead to some things shaking up. And I don't know, Josh Allen, just there's something about him where it's just like he's good, but he's also just so not clutch and throws a lot of picks. And I think that's a big problem for that offense. And yeah, like you said, I could see him requesting a trade out. And again, I don't know who'd be willing to give up what for him at this point, but he's still obviously a really good receiver. And so, yeah, I mean, I like the pick. I think Diggs and Adams, both those guys are kind of in the, I mean, Diggs is in a little bit of a better situation, I think, than Adams, but still, it's not looking too good over there.
Yeah, the way I kind of see it playing out is similar to how DeAndre Hopkins left the Cardinals this year, where it's good, it's bad, okay, get out.
Yeah.
And he gets to sign wherever. I have a feeling it could be, I mean, honestly, for Adams or Diggs, that could be in the realm of possibilities, because they're still talented. They see that, you see that every time they play. It's just they're not getting the same opportunities. Diggs, I think, is a lot better for this season. So in dynasty contenders, go for him. For Adams, it's going to be a little bit rough, but I mean, there's a lot of people that I'm worried about, like you kind of mentioned too. So we'll have to devote a show about who we're most worried about and who is safe, because that list will be very, very short. It'll be like a 30-second episode of who is safe, because no one's safe. But let's get into the main part of the show here today. So we're going to do a mock draft of the 2023 draft picks. Just going to redo it. We're going to go down through the first 2 rounds. So 24 picks. We're going to do a super flex draft and half PPR. So Warren, I think you elected to go first. So we're going to compare today to the May 2023 ADP for where these drafts were taking place. So first overall pick previously was Mr. Bijan Robinson. Are you sticking with that, or are we making a change here?
I am. I'm making a change here. I'm going with CJ Stroud. I mean, again, this could change depending on what your needs are for your team too. But for me, it's CJ Stroud. I mean, he's in the MVP conversation right now. Like, that's how good this guy's playing as a rookie. So, I mean, what are his numbers? Through 9 games, he has 2,600 yards, 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with a 101 passer rating. I mean, that's just great. And 2 more rushing touchdowns as well on top of that. So, I mean, the guy's just playing lights out right now. And so, yeah, I mean, he's my number 1 pick all the way.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks so good. Like, it doesn't matter the matchup. It seems. I mean, he's as close to a must start, especially in Dynasty. Like, I mean, I did not expect him to do this. He was my number 1 quarterback going into draft season, after the NFL draft. And right now, I mean, what are the Panthers doing? They screwed up big time.
Yeah. they're probably
that was a huge blunder. I just don't see how they didn't go with Stroud. I mean, I'm not a QB scout by any means, but just watching him play in Ohio State was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he has Houston sitting at 5-4 right now. If the season ended today, they're in the playoffs, which is just insane. I can't even believe it, but
yeah. I mean, they just took down the Bengals. Like
the Bengals, yeah.
I know the Bengals have struggled this year, but
they're still
as of late,
team.
they've been as of late. I mean, they have a bunch of losses, but if you remember, like Burrow was hurt really bad for the first couple games, so those I'm not really counting as much as in other times. So, all right, well, I think we went into enough about the man, the myth, the legend, CJ Stroud. So I'm going to take the low hanging fruit here, then, and I'm going to go Bijan. Arthur Smith. Looks like last week he turned over a new leaf, shaved the mustache off, and that was what was holding Bijan back. But he had like 20 opportunities and is just amazing. So I think Bijan is going to be a huge impact player for many, many years, despite the coaching. So I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson at number 2.
It's a good pick. Yeah. Hopefully they continue to keep giving him carries because obviously it's effective and it works. Yeah. So they'd be dumb not to.
And Anthony Richardson was the previous second overall pick in May. So third pick in May was Bryce Young. So where are you going at 3?
I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, he's kind of splitting carries with Montgomery right now, but we kind of saw flashes of him when he was the lone back with Montgomery injured, and he looked really good. So I think once, Montgomery, he's still relatively younger, but he's kind of in like that middle part of the running back career where, maybe next year he starts his decline maybe. But I think once Gibbs is the full-time guy there, I think that there's going to be a lot of points getting put up for him, I think. So yeah, he's my third pick.
All right, I like it. He looks really, really good. So pick 4 previously in May was CJ Stroud. I'm going to stop the fall here, and I'm going to go Anthony Richardson. Despite the injury, I know that's a major concern for his play style, but he played a couple games, and he was an absolute week winner at the quarterback position. His legs, we said it going into this season, rushing for 700 yards and a couple other minor stats that you basically get just by playing quarterback, you're top 8 quarterback. So we saw that. He was amazing coming out. Unfortunate injury, dude landed on him. Can't really fault him for that. He was not running at that point. It's just the dude fell on him. We got freak accidents all the time. So Anthony Richardson he was the 4th overall pick by the Indianapolis Colts for a reason. And I think he's going to continue. He's going to come back. He'll be perfectly fine, most likely by OTAs even. And I think he's just going to set the league on fire. He looks like MVP year Lamar Jackson when I was watching him play. He was a little bit more accurate than I think we all thought as well. He didn't have that at his time in Florida. And coming out, I mean, he had, I think it was like a 65 plus completion percentage, which everyone was kind of slotting him in for the low 50s. So if he can put together another solid year, put together a full season, I mean, why not? That's someone I want to tie myself to. So Anthony Richardson's my pick there.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think, he looked really good when he was in there. I think having the coach from the Eagles, Shane Steichen, there, who coached Jalen Hurts, I think that really helped him a lot as far as his accuracy, like you were saying. So pretty similar play styles between those two guys. And yeah, I think he's gonna be a solid pick. So for my 5 pick, I have Jordan Addison. Obviously he's playing really well right now with JJ out, and with Cousins out as well. I think that once JJ comes back, I think his targets will dip. But I mean, the talent's there. I mean, I think if he needed to, he could step into a wide receiver 1 role and be perfectly fine. But obviously, you can't make him the wide receiver 1 with JJ there. But I think whoever they get next year, whether it's if they decide to stick with Dobbs or when Kirk comes back, I think that his targets and everything are going to go up, his yards, just based off his usage this year. And so for my 5 pick, it is Addison.
I like that pick a lot. Jordan Addison is someone, he came in at a smaller frame for a wide receiver, and that was a concern. But I think what Devontae Smith did in his rookie year kind of put that a little bit on the back burner. It's not as high of a concern anymore, which makes it a little bit more difficult to scout these guys based on team usage and all. But it's going to be interesting how that shakes out next year. Who's going to be the quarterback? Are they going to get a deal done with Justin Jefferson? There's a lot to happen between now and then, but watching him play football has been amazing. He's very good. He's got a nose for the end zone, it seems. He can do the intermediate routes, deep ball. He can kind of do it all. So I love that pick. I am going to do – this is where it gets a little tough because you still have Bryce Young, and despite how he has looked, he's going to get the opportunity. They're not going to move on from him. He was the first overall pick for a reason, despite what we think is a blunder with CJ Stroud. I'm between him and JSN because although JSN has not shown a lot this season, being a rookie, he had an injury the first couple of weeks. You've seen some flashes, and he's starting to get a little bit more run now. But that's where I'm going to go with this pick. So JSN is going to be my pick just because I think the future is very bright for him, despite being behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. That's another quarterback situation. Gino's under contract, but do they bring someone else in to compete? And how is it going to shake up? But betting on the talent here, JSN played with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave at Ohio State with CJ Stroud. And when asked, both Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave said JSN was the better receiver on that 2021 team. So I'm going to kind of take that into account, and I'm going to go with JSN.
That's a good pick. I think that I forgot maybe to say what the ADP was in May for the 5 pick, but it was Gibbs. Gibbs was at 5, and then JSN was 6 in May.
Yeah, I'll just run down. So this is the first round in May. So then we could just continue on. So Bijan, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Gibbs at 4, JSN at 6, Gibbs at 5, sorry. Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers, Dalton Kincaid, Will Levis, and Kendre Miller to finish out the first round. So who is up next for you, sir?
So next I have, I don't really want to take him, but I think I kind of have to. I'll take Bryce Young here. He's, like you said, he's still a starting quarterback. He's still going to get the reps. He's still the guy there as of right now. So, and he might turn things around. We'll see. Once they get more weapons on offense, better line maybe. But yeah, obviously he was really good at Alabama. Not always does the Alabama quarterbacks translate well in the NFL, but yeah, you kind of have to go Bryce Young with this pick.
Yeah, I feel like he fell a little too far, and it's some of the stuff too is recency bias. You watch this person and he's struggling in this offense, but looking at long term, he could if you put a good weapon in this offense that he could throw to, he could be a lot better next year. Second year in the offense. Frank Reich is there. I do have confidence in Frank Reich, despite him losing losing the job in Indy, but I do think he's a good coach. So another year working with him, I think it'll be okay. This is where I'm going to introduce someone that came onto the NFL stage and just lit it on fire and then poured gasoline on top and continued to light. Puka Nacua is going to be my pick here. Next year, we'll figure it out, but Puka, I mean, his talent by itself is enough to put him in the top in the first round because he was insane. It was 14 targets as a rookie. It is just unheard of. I know that offense is very pass happy, so it's a little bit elevated compared to other offenses, but still, targets are an earned stat, and the fact that Matthew Stafford was that comfortable in throwing to a rookie that early, it says a lot about his work ethic and his skill. So Puka Nacua is going to be my pick here.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. That's actually who I wanted to go, but went with Bryce Young instead. But yeah, I mean, he obviously we've seen his targets dip since Cup came back, which was expected, with a guy like Cooper Cup. But yeah, I mean, he's just his production early on in the season was insane. I've never seen anything like it out of a rookie. I don't think that early, especially for a guy that was undrafted, right?
No, I think he was a fifth rounder.
A fifth round pick.
Yeah,
Okay.
fifth round pick.
Yeah, but,
so late round draft pick for a team, but still,
right? Yeah, still.
it's crazy. So
all right, so you had Puka. I'll go A-Chain. I mean, his production again. That's another guy, undrafted. He was undrafted, but I mean, his production in there when he was in there was insane. Now his size is a little thing to be worried about. Smaller backs like that tend to get injured a lot. But I mean, when he's in there, he's electric. I mean, him and Mostert in that 1-2 punch, like that's just like lightning in a bottle. I mean, this guy was running for 200 yards like every week. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, I think I have to go A-Chain here.
yeah, Devon Achane, he was drafted in May at the 201, so a little bit earlier. But hey, I mean, he's been injured this year, but he's been absolutely amazing. It's crazy how good he is. I'm excited to see him. I made a little blunder of a trade before he broke out, and regretting that because I did not see this happening. Because he's a smaller back, and I didn't see that translating. But whoopsies, I was pretty wrong there. All right, so for my pick here, I'm gonna go with Zay Flowers. In that offense, he's not really buried. It's just he's not being used. That team has been mostly they've been passing a little bit more, but their running backs have been taking all the touchdowns away. And I don't think that's going to continue. So Zay Flowers is someone that Rashad Bateman's just a guy now. He's no one. They have OBJ there. That's it. Mark Andrews is the number one pass catcher in that offense. And clearly him and Lamar Jackson have, similar to like what Brady and Gronk had years ago, where they're very good together. But Zay Flowers is a solid wide receiver on an offense that needs a number one wide receiver to take a little bit of pressure off on Lamar and Andrews. And next year, Rashad Bateman's probably going to get the boot. OBJ's probably done. He's definitely not re-signing with the Ravens. So they're going to bring someone else in. They're most likely going to have a higher pick because they're a good team this year. So they're not going to be drafting one of these super, super talented wide receivers that would take away snaps from Zay Flowers. So I think he's a pretty safe pick, and he should age like a fine wine. He's one of these guys where he might not be super flashy this year, but watch next year and he'll get the opportunities.
Yeah, I like that pick. This next pick for me, it's between two guys, same position, but I think I'm going to go Sam Laporta. It's a high-powered offense or high-powered passing offense over there in Detroit. Well, I mean, they run the ball too, but I mean, Jared Goff really, it seems like so far Jared Goff really likes to throw to Sam Laporta. And it's between either him or Kincaid for me. And it seems like so far he's been the more effective tight end. And who knows, Kincaid's still got to deal with Dawson Knox over there when he comes back too. So, I think Sam Laporta, let me look up his stats really quick because I'm pretty sure that, when you're comparing like tight ends, I'm pretty sure he's up there with like in the top ones.
Yeah, he gets a lot of targets and everything too. I mean, he's
gets,
a focal point of that offense.
Right. So, I mean, he's 47 catches on the year, almost 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good for a tight end. That might be like top 5, top 6 in the league as far as tight ends go. So, yeah, for me, it's Laporta.
Yeah, Laporta's really good. He's so good. I'm excited to see what he's going to do the rest of his career. That offense is really good. We talked about it last night, how I really enjoy watching that offense, and I think they're one of the better ones in the NFL. And they're very well balanced too, which is one thing that I think gets overlooked a lot. Where it's a crowded offense because there's a lot of mouths to feed, but they do a pretty good job of spreading the ball around where touchdowns are going to happen because they're that good. They can beat players, and Sam Laporta is a huge part of that. Watching him do those 9 routes is a lot of fun to watch. Jump balls, and he looks really good. All right, so next pick here, I'm gonna go with Will Levis. This is someone that has only played a couple games. It has been announced as the starter the rest of the season, but he still has some things to work on. Clearly, he's coming out throwing 4 touchdowns in a game in your first NFL game ever. Pretty freaking awesome. But he's got to clean some things up, and I think this team and this franchise knows that, and they're going to work with him. That's why he's getting the reps now to see, this is your shot. He was a 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft to the Tennessee Titans. So I do think this team can work with a quarterback like him to make him into something special. It's just going to be it's going to be a little bit rough because next year, Traylon Burks, I don't think he's going to do much. He can't stay on the field. Even when he's on the field, something about his play style just doesn't scream to me success. And it's unfortunate because I know he was drafted a little bit higher, and especially in rookie drafts for fantasy, but something about that kind of just doesn't work. And I don't know if Will Levis is the one to unlock him or vice versa. So they're going to need to do a slight overhaul of that wide receiver room and the pass catchers. Because let's not forget, Derrick Henry has been the identity of that team for years now. He's getting older. Are they going to sign him again? Is he gone next year? There's a lot of moving parts on the Tennessee Titans offense. So I do think Will Levis could figure it out with the right weapons around him, but it depends on how they do that and who it is. So,
all right, like the pick.
I think that rounds out the first round, actually. So
yeah, I think so.
Let's go to the 2nd-round picks now. So 2nd-round pick in May was Devon Achane at the 201, Zach Charbonnet, Jonathan Mingo, Rashee Rice, Roshan Johnson, Tyjae Spears, Michael Mayer, Hendon Hooker, Marvin Mims, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, and Tank Bigsby at the 24 pick. So where are we starting this out at?
I think it would technically, wouldn't you go again? You start off the 2nd round if it's a snake.
Yeah, we'll just do one and you get the one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one for me. I think I'm gonna go. Hard. Yeah, it's tough. I think I'm gonna go Tank Dell. Again, we talked about before. The Houston offense is just super high powered, and it seems like C.J. Stroud likes throwing to him. He likes throwing to Nico Collins as well, but this guy, like, it feels like every time I look at this guy, he's got like 10 catches for like 150 yards, and it's just crazy. I mean, the last game Nico Collins was out, Tank Dell kind of slid into that wide receiver one role. He lit it up. I mean, just disgusting, that comeback win against Tampa Bay. So yeah, I mean, again, this is a tough round altogether, but I think Tank Dell is the pick for me for the 2.1.
Yeah, Tank Dell, he's another guy that's a lot smaller, and even smaller than like Jordan Addison. Like this class, all these wide receivers were a little bit tinier than normal, but it doesn't seem to matter with Tank Dell. He's getting run in that offense. CJ Stroud and him have a connection. And I don't know if you remember this, but when after the Texans selected Stroud, they asked him who he wanted, and he said Tank Dell. So that alone, if you're the newly drafted quarterback of your team says, go get this guy, and that's usually a decent sign that they got some special things going. So I love that pick. Tank Dell is someone that kind of his range of outcomes were pretty wide, I feel like, and now they're starting to get narrowed down. Now, just for the sake of a tangent here, Tank Dell, where do you slot him in Dynasty? Do you think he's wide receiver 2, like a low end wide receiver 2? We talk about wide receiver 3 still, or where are you putting him? For me, he's a mid to low end wide receiver 2.
Yeah, it's tough with him because like he'll have those giant games, and then like the next game he'll kind of disappear a little bit. But I think maybe like a low end wide receiver tier 2, high end wide receiver 3, I think is a good spot for him. Again, I still think Nico Collins is like the main guy over there, but Tank Dell's still a solid option, and how much they throw the ball, like,
agreed.
Yeah. All right, who do you got?
So at 202, I'm going to follow May, and I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet. He was my running back 2 that I scouted, in my rankings. And it's sorry, we're recording this during the Baltimore Ravens game, and my tight end apparently now has an ankle injury and is on crutches. Yay, Mark Andrews.
Oh no.
Sorry. Oh, not fun. All right, but back to this. Zach Charbonnet, he was drafted to the Seattle Seahawks in the second round just because Pete Carroll doesn't like when we have nice things, but he is an amazing running back. He looks great, but he's behind Ken Walker. Now he's been out snapping Ken Walker the past couple of weeks. Is that going to translate into anything? I'm not sure. It's always going to be one of these things where he might not ever be the guy, just because we've seen this in the past with Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. But if in the event that Ken Walker goes down at all, I think he's easily a top 10 running back because he has the skill set, the size, the vision. He's just an all-around great running back, and it just sucks that we can't have him. I was hoping he was going to go to the Bengals, so I thought that would just be lights out. But here we are. Pete Carroll doesn't like when we have running backs that we can use. So,
yeah, I like that. I like him as a player. Like you said, he's got all the skills necessary, but again, like you said, he's behind Ken Walker, who's played so well so far and who's still really young. And it just sucks that he's got to play behind him, but Ken Walker is, he's had his fair share of injuries so far. So, Charbonnet, he's going to get his chances. And maybe he will dethrone Ken Walker, maybe, who knows? But so with the 2.3, I'm going to go with Rashee Rice. Pretty much the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs right now. I'm kind of trying to develop a connection with Mahomes. And I think if they can get that going, it could be pretty scary. We've all seen Mahomes throw for just a ridiculous amount of yards and touchdowns. And Kelsey's getting older. How much does he really have left? I mean, he's still playing at a high level right now, but that could change pretty quickly. At some point they're not going to have Kelsey, and they're going to need to figure things out. And it could be a perfect fit for Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I mean, someone other than Kelsey has to do something on that offense. Like, Patrick Mahomes is too good of a quarterback to only be able to rely on Travis Kelsey. And if that's the only person he's going to have, like, I know they're really good and they've been winning still this season and all, but at some point that's not going to work. So they need something else. And I think that's the unfortunate landing spot is the Chiefs. Everyone's like, oh, it's Pat Mahomes. But right now it's a rookie in an Andy Reid led offense. Like, he doesn't really utilize rookies as easily and as quickly. So it's a little bit annoying. But Rashee Rice has been, his snap share has been going up, his target share has been going up. So I think there's better days ahead. So this could be a decent opportunity to go acquire him. But it just depends on kind of what your level of confidence is and what your risk level is to get.
Yeah.
For me here, I'm going to go with Tyjae Spears. He's someone that he's behind Derrick Henry. So he's not beating Derrick Henry there, despite a couple times he outsnapped him. But I think that was more play script or game script than anything else. He is a pretty good running back by himself. A couple shows ago, I mentioned that he was one of the top 5 leaders in certain elusive rating stats and yards after contact per attempt. So in space, he's really good. And that his skill set is built for this NFL. If the opportunities start coming up, I think he could be someone that enters into the realm of a solid RB2 for your team with RB1 upside. Now, a lot of that depends on the offense he's going to be in, and we already spent time talking about the concerns I have with the Tennessee Titans, but if they figure things out, Tyjae Spears could be someone that you're looking back 2 years from now like, man, why did I not try to trade for him when he wasn't worth as much? So he could be someone that's value just skyrockets. So I really like what I've seen, and I think he's going to continue, and he's only going to grow.
Yeah, I like that pick. I was hoping you didn't take him there because he was going to be my next guy. But yeah, like you said, and Derrick Henry, like you said, he's getting older, and he certainly lost a step. I mean, he's not the same Derrick Henry that we've come to know this year, as in years past. But so maybe if they do part from Derrick Henry after this year, or whatever happens with that situation, Spears is the guy after that. So, and again, when he's come in, he's been electric. Like you said, when he gets in space, he's really good. He's got all the skills. So I like that pick there. My next guy, I'm going to go Josh Downs. He's kind of up and down for me. Again, like, he's got Gardner Minshew in there right now, so we don't really know what to expect. So, but he's had some good games, he's had some down games, but I think overall, like, talent wise, he can get open. He's a good route runner, and I had to watch him against the Browns this year, earlier in the season, and kid's got some skills. So I'm gonna go Downs here.
Yeah, Downs is someone, again, going into this year, I didn't really expect a lot from. I didn't really see the hype behind him that some people had, but with Anthony Richardson, I'm looking at his stats. He's got 15 catches for 198 yards, and that's 4 games with Anthony Richardson. Now, some of those games Anthony Richardson left early, so he averages about 50 yards per game with Richardson, and he does look solid. I mean, even with Minshew, it's been a little bit weird lately, but we'll see kind of how that works out next year. Another year in the offense, and hopefully not with Gardner Minshew again, but we'll see. I don't know, But I like that pick. This one might surprise you here because I do not like this offense at all, and I think they're going to be worse next year. But Jaden Reed on the Green Bay Packers, I think is the best wide receiver on that team over Christian Watson, over Romeo Dobbs. It's one of those things where Jordan Love is not the answer. It doesn't seem to be the answer, at least. I'll start with that. That'll be the nice way to say it. But something's off in Green Bay. Now, I know we have an Aaron Rodgers size hole in that offense, and he's surely missed there. But Christian Watson is one of these guys that he's another one that can't stay healthy. And his play style, even looking at what he did when he had Aaron Rodgers there, he had a 4-game stretch where he was just lights out. But at the same time, that's 4 games with a quarterback who is no longer on the team. So things change, and it doesn't seem like him and Jordan Love are going to figure it out. That offense is in a spiral. So Jaden Reed steps in, has been getting a little bit more looks in the offense. Targets are not going to be fun because it's Jordan Love throwing the ball, but he's getting them, and he's doing well with them. So I think in the future, if they hopefully get another quarterback or he works his way into a more dominant role, I think he could be one of these guys that's safe enough to pick. And now you're at the back half of the second round in a rookie draft, so that's where you take these shots.
Okay.
So.
Nice. A little bit of a sleeper pick there. I like it. But I'm going to go with I'll go with Dalton Kincaid here. He's kind of hit or miss for me, but I think the talent is there with him. Again, a lot of turmoil right now in Buffalo. So who knows what it's going to look like from here on out since they just fired their OC, but it seems like he can get it done being the tight end one. Again, we're gonna have to see what he looks like with Dawson Knox when he comes back, and how this whole Buffalo situation is going to be. But I mean, the talent's there. He was a high draft pick for a reason. So I'm gonna go Kincaid. Not a really flashy pick, but
I gotta admit something for the listeners here. I'm looking at at our show sheet here with all the names of the previous guys. I completely forgot we didn't draft him already. So Dalton Kincaid at this point is pretty darn good.
He's pretty good.
Dalton Kincaid is look, rookie tight ends have always not worked out. We've had a few, and by a few I mean a few. It hasn't been fun for rookie tight ends. And Dalton Kincaid now without Dawson Knox, who should be back soon, but it's been a fun ride with him so far this season. More recently, since Dawson Knox has been out, but he is a solid tight end. He's got the pass catching ability. That is why he was drafted as high as he was on a team that uses the tight end. So he's an awesome pick. I probably would have taken him a little earlier, but if I remembered, so that's my bad. This is where it gets ugly, and I don't really know where. The rest of the draft is kind of, you just pick guys that might have good opportunity, and you try to spin it in your head. I guess I'll go Michael Mayer here to finish out the decent tight ends. I know we have Luke Musgrave still left over the end of this group, but Michael Mayer was a very productive college tight end, and I think we've seen it recently where he's starting to find his foothold in this offense, despite who's quarterbacking the Raiders right now. But he should be someone that gets enough targets and is utilized in a way that we enjoy for fantasy, where he's getting targets, receptions, and opportunities in the red zone. So he's had a couple of those so far. So I'm encouraged from what I've seen, and I think he could get a lot better.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a ton of Michael Mayer, but it seems like he gets quite a decent amount of targets. So pretty solid pick there. I will go Quentin Johnston with my next pick.
I was waiting to see how far he was going to fall. That person I remembered we didn't draft for a reason.
Yeah. Again, the production really hasn't been there like you would have wanted, especially you being a Quentin Johnston owner. I definitely thought that his production was going to go up a ton when Mike Williams got hurt. Just hasn't really been the case. Josh Palmer kind of stepped into that role, but again, he's out now, and still really Quentin Johnston really can't get it going. These past couple of weeks, he's starting to get more targets. He's starting to get more involved in the offense. I think he had a touchdown last week, but I think he has the talent. He's a big receiver, pretty much exactly what like the Chargers blueprint for receivers. But it just seems like Keenan Allen is just hogging all the targets over there. But I think there's better days to come for him.
Yeah, he definitely is. So far in Quentin Johnston's career, he has 28 targets, 18 receptions for 162 yards and a touchdown. It's unfortunate because I was excited for him. I had some concerns going in, even when I was scouting all these rookies. He was someone that was more of an upside play than a floor for fantasy because he showed some concerns with just pass catching. He didn't have a lot of catches to, with his hands. He had a lot of them to his body, which kind of a red flag for wide receivers because you want them to have strong hands that can go out and catch the ball. But he was doing a lot of, midsection catches, and that just means he can't separate or he doesn't utilize that part of his skill set. So the fact that it took Mike Williams and Joshua Palmer to get injured for him to get targets is a little bit worrisome. I do still have hope that he figures it out. This offense could change a little bit next year. Justin Herbert is still the quarterback. He is still a great one. Keenan Allen takes up everything, and then you got Austin Eckler in that offense. So I think the target share around is just a little bit too concentrated to a couple different areas where he doesn't fit in as well. Because like even Mike Williams, he had a couple games where he had a bunch of targets, but usually he was a little bit less. He wasn't one of these, Keenan Allen possession type receivers. He's more of a big play guy, with also games where he did play a different role, which goes to say how good Mike Williams can be. But Quentin Johnston is one of these guys where if Keenan Allen's no longer with the team next year, I think he could step into a similar role. He's not going to be Keenan Allen, so I don't want to hear that I called him Keenan Allen, but he could play a similar role, which is the hope. And if you're an owner of Quentin Johnston, that's what you're telling yourself, trying to justify the first round pick you drafted him at. So I do like that pick. I think we're up at the final pick here, if I remember.
I think so.
So this one's hard, but I'm going to go Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims is way underutilized in this Broncos offense. Annoyingly so, but he is behind two decent wide receivers. Cortland Sutton is okay. He's nothing, I think, to really write home about. And Jerry Jeudy seems to be on his way out of Denver. I know there's the whole feud between him and Steve Smith, which is really funny. If no one's seen it or heard it, go watch it because it's hilarious. But he's just buried on this offense right now, and it's annoying because he's just sitting there doing punt returns, which he looks great doing it. He has speed. He has the agility to do that. Clearly, he can catch the ball too, but they're just not using him as a wide receiver. He gets a couple routes, and that's it. So I think his better days are on their way. So this could be an opportunity to buy him very, very low, because I don't think the person who has him is really clamoring to hold on to him. They're probably looking to be like, I just need a guy that's going to do something. Show me signs of life and we're good to go. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what what kind of they do next year. With Judy, like you said, I'm assuming Judy's going to be gone. Sutton's still probably going to be there. They have the GOAT coming back next year, Tim Patrick.
I hope. I
Yeah.
I might have to make room on my my IR slots to. I might need to drop him. So that will be a very sad day. So I expect one of you to pick him up if I do that. Tim Patrick for life.
Tim Patrick for life. But yeah, I do agree. He's super underutilized in that offense, and I there were a couple games early in the season where he caught a couple long balls when he was in there, and I think he scored on both of them. But yeah, ever since then, like his snap count it's just been going down. So if they can find a way to get him involved, get him in the offense, get him going, like I think he could be a really solid player.
He has 11 catches for 246 yards and a touchdown. Right
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
on 15 targets. So get
Yeah.
him the ball, please, Denver. Come on.
right.
Sean Payton, you're better than this. Let's go. All right. So we're going to do a final thought for Dynasty. Now, we're looking at the 2022 wide receivers compared to the 2023 class. Now, 2022 class already went through the rookie year. We've seen a couple things that may be worrisome for us. So to recap those in 22, we had Drake London, Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Sky Moore, George Pickens, Christian Watson, and Jahan Dotson. Now, any of these rookies in 23, do you see similarities between any of the worrisome guys in 22? That maybe like a Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams. I mean, the main ones for me are Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams, Sky Moore, and George Pickens.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Quentin Johnston to me. I'm very worried about that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it seems like
enough.
it seems like a lot of the receivers this year kind of, aside from Quentin Johnston, it seems like they're, or at least some of like the highly drafted ones, it seems like they're pretty decently involved. But a lot of the ones from the 2022 list that you have here, like I'm noticing, besides Jameson Williams, it's like none of those guys really have a solid quarterback that can get them the ball. And Sky Moore, obviously. But, besides those two, like Traylon Burks, Drake London, Pickens, like maybe if they had a better quarterback that could get them the ball better, or maybe a better system that they're in, maybe those guys' numbers, they look a little different. But as far as this year's class goes, like yeah, Quentin Johnston's one to be kind of worried about. But I think other than that, to me, there's not really much there. I mean, I know Jonathan Mingo was a pretty high draft pick, a high second round draft pick, which he hasn't panned out at all. So maybe him you could throw in there, but I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I mean it's mainly Quentin Johnston that I'm worried about here. Jonathan Mingo, obviously, like you said, last year their class doesn't have a lot of great quarterbacks. I mean, we're seeing it this year with Chris Olave. He's barely used in the way he should be. Him and Derek Carr are not on the same page, and it's a lot of quarterback play, which is frustrating because Derek Carr can apparently throw to Rashid Shaheed, but he can't throw to Chris Olave. So last week, we needed Jameis Winston to save us with Chris Olave. So if they do get quarterback upgrades, I think they could start panning out. But usually once you get past the first 2 years, if you don't do it, it's kind of almost a death sentence for these fantasy wide receivers. If you don't do it a lot, just no matter what the reason is, it's hard to get back, because even a team, if you go to a different team, they're looking at what you did, not what you can do. It's, oh, this is where you were drafted, you should have done this. Even if it's completely unfair and it's not your fault, that's the way they view it. And I think that's where they kind of get grouped into. But with this year, I mean, the top dogs are pretty good. JSN, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. I mean, those guys, Puka, I think those guys are pretty safe heading forward. But some of the other guys might be a little difficult to gauge. So you're going to have to shoot your shot, most likely, on some of these guys. But I think I agree mostly. So But all right, so that's gonna do this for us. We're done with the mock draft. If you have any questions, please check out the website at theheroesff.com. You can submit a question. We have some stats on there from last year. I will be updating those after we finish this season to get kind of when we do our recap series, just going over this wonderful 2023 season that's been very kind to a lot of us, and go from there. So that's it. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you on the next show.
See ya.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.